Hey, Brian here. So WooCommerce 10.3 is coming out in October. I thought I would do a kind of breakdown of what's in the pre-release updates. So the beta just came out on Monday. This is for developers to test, make sure everything's compatible. If you're building sites for other people and you want to test those features early on like a local or development environment, you can do that as well. So this isn't everything that's going to be in 10.3. There's a lot of other features. There's always a few hundred pull requests that come through for every release. This blog post kind of just covers like the high level stuff that you might be most interested to learn about. So we're just going to literally scroll through this blog post and go through and see what some of the stuff in here is. Just some intro information. It's going to come out on October 21st. That's a Tuesday. But there'll be beta this week. There'll be another beta next week before it comes out. So let's go through what's coming in 10.3. First big feature is cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold is basically if you have a product or a variation or something like that, you have the price that you sell it to the customer, but you can now also add in the cost that it costs to your business. So that's like the parts and the labor and, any other sort of like internal costs that you might have. And so when you're running reports and things like that, you can actually see like profit margins for products. You can see which products are the most profitable, which products have a lower, tighter margin when you do reporting and stuff, instead of just seeing like gross revenue. You can see like net revenue, that sort of stuff. So it really lays the foundation for just better store management, better tracking of your finances and all that sort of stuff. It's in 10.3, but it is still a feature that is not enabled by default. So you have to go to the WooCommerce settings page, go to the features tab, and you have to actually click to turn on cost of goods sold. So if you do have an existing cost of goods sold plugin that you're using, you can at some point migrate to the free version that's included inside of WooCommerce Core, but you don't have to turn it on by default. Up next, we have address autocomplete for checkout blocks and for shortcode, which I'm pretty excited about. So address autocomplete is when you're on the checkout form and you start typing in your address for, your billing address or your shipping address. It'll actually do like a Google search of maps and pull up the addresses. I'm sure most people have gone through this flow in the past. It's basically seen as like a conversion rate improvement feature because it's just a lot less that people have to fill out. They just start typing in the first few numbers. Usually it comes up, and then you just click it, fills out the state, the country, all that other stuff for you. The thing about address autocomplete, there's two things. Number one is it's coming to the blocks and the shortcode, which is very cool because I would say like not every feature comes to the shortcode. So if you're running the checkout shortcode, it can work with that as well. The other thing is that it actually, to search an address, it's not like your WooCommerce store is going to have literally every address stored in it. It has to make an external call to an API to get that information. So if you just have like a vanilla WooCommerce, this functionality is not going to exist for you at this point. If you have Woo Payments, then it's automatically integrated. So Woo Payments handles that API lookup. But I think other third-party developers, there is a developer framework for it for third-party developers to extend it. So I'm sure some extension developers are going to jump on it pretty soon. It'll probably be something that's paid because, like I said, it's an API call. Those address autocompletes do cost money. But if you're using Woo Payments, you'll have it automatically for free. And if you're an extension developer, check out the docs linked here to build your own integration for it. Product collection editor improvements. So in 10.2, there was a ton of edits to the product collections, and those are like maybe your shop page where you show all the products, maybe it's where you show related projects, maybe on your homepage you have a little carousel of featured products, those sort of collections of products. This release focused on backend editor improvements. There was some issues with performance because I think, if I remember correctly, a lot of the blocks were sort of getting when you load it on the backend, you got to load every single product, display, the thumbnail, the price, all these little separate blocks. And I'm sure you've had that experience in the block editor where like everything is like slowly kind of fading and loading. A lot of them are moving now to use the same core data API. So like once the data is loaded once, it's loaded everywhere. It's updates are shown. It's just a much faster, more performant approach to loading it. So you should just experience major improvements in editing your product collections inside the block editor. There was also this issue where you would have like ghost changes. I know I've seen this before in lots of plugins where you go to leave the block editor, you didn't touch anything, but it thinks you changed something and you're like, I don't think I changed anything. And you're kind of afraid to hit save, but you're also afraid to leave. So there were some issues around that. Those have been fixed. So you're not going to get that kind of like, do you want to save your changes thing where you don't feel like you made any changes. So really cool performance improvements there. The PayPal API has been upgraded to V2 of the API. If you've ever done, I remember doing like custom PayPal integrations with like their IPN and all that sort of stuff. This is like a new, faster, more reliable checkout experience. What's nice about this, if you're using PayPal, is you're going to get the PayPal like express checkout buttons. So like one click to pay with PayPal, one click to pay with Venmo, one click to do the PayPal pay later. They're kind of like buy now, pay later credit service and stuff. So again, another big like conversion rate optimizer. If PayPal is one of your extensions, getting that one click payment button is going to be pretty awesome. So big improvement for that API being updated. Next, we'll move into experimental and beta features. So I don't know if you've messed with the add to cart plus options beta block. It's when you're on a single product page and you want to add a product to a cart, there's this new block. It's in beta, but I've been using it and it's really good. It basically gives you like different layouts for like if you have a variable product where there's like color options and size options, and it lets you do like pills, and it lets you do drop downs, and it lets you change like all the inner elements and style them differently. Like there's so much more control over it. From what I understand, if I remember correctly, it uses the interactivity API, so it's a lot faster, more performant. Those mini cart updates happen pretty instantaneously, and then it does this really cool thing which like shocked me at first. I didn't understand what was happening, but if you have product variations and there's different thumbnails like for specific variations, say you have a sweater and you're looking at it and you change from red to green, and you have the product carousel gallery that's like the photo gallery of all the product images. If you switch to the green sweater, it'll actually rotate the gallery to get to that green sweater. So it's like a much better experience of like, okay, now I actually changed my mind. I want the blue sweater. The image is going to rotate and show you the blue sweater. So like there's really cool improvements around that block. It's still in beta, so technically there could be breaking changes in the future, but it's a really cool block and I would recommend testing it out. Next, we have WooCommerce MCP. This is probably a big deal for developers, but I think, in the future, this will be a big deal for everybody. But MCP is just a way for AI, large language models, to talk to a website, service, app, something like that. It's kind of a protocol that's become more popular over time. I was recently on a podcast where we discussed if MCP will even be around in 5 years. Who knows? But the point is that the way that WooCommerce built their MCP is they're actually using the core WordPress MCP and the core WordPress Abilities API, which means that even if MCP becomes some other protocol in the future, the whole functionality is built out there. So it's really going to open up a lot of doors for whatever direction AI takes us, which we have no idea at this point. But I've tested it out. Things like I can open up Claude or Claude Code and I can say, what were my, most popular products in the last 2 weeks? How much money did I make yesterday? Can you update the price on my sweater to be, more expensive, or put it on sale for this much? And instead of logging in and doing these things, you're just doing it through natural language. So it's still in beta. Like it's definitely early days for this sort of AI and MCP. I would say test it out on a development or staging site, but it's going to open up a lot of possibilities. And because it's built on the WordPress Abilities API, you can register your own abilities for your own plugin or extension. So I did one where I wanted to make shareable checkout links, and I wanted to do it through natural language. So I made an ability and I exposed it to the WooCommerce MCP, and now I can in Claude say like, hey, get me a checkout link for a sweater with a 10% coupon code, and it can generate that link for me, give me the URL. I can go use it in a marketing material. I didn't have to like log in and look up product IDs and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of really cool opportunities there for developers, for people building on it. And then I think in the future for really end users who are going to start expecting to talk in natural language to their software. Now we'll move into, these are like another experimental feature, but these are more like developer advisories. So these ones with the purple, you can click on it and it'll take you to a full post explaining it. Number one, there's a new feature. It's experimental. You can opt into it, and it's about clearing empty sessions. And it's really just about that mixed with some like caching changes and ways to really give more of your users a cached version of the site for performance reasons. So if somebody has an empty cart or something like that, then like there should be no reason that you should be having like a session existing for them and them not getting like just the cached logged out, effective version of the page. So that's experimental. I would say recommend testing it, and hopefully performance plugins will test and work on compatibility of that over the next release. And then 2 more developer advisories. One is around decimal formats. There's this WC format decimal. It didn't always return the same thing that people were expecting, so it's gotten a little bit stricter. If you're a plugin author, check the usage of that to make sure you're not doing anything, not expecting a result that it's not going to return anymore. And finally, coupon discount calculation was reverted. So there was some improvements to how coupon discounts were calculated, but based on community feedback, felt like it wasn't hitting the right edge cases and stuff. So you can click through to read the full blog post on that, but it's really just going to revert some of those recalculations it was doing and kind of bring it back to the status quo. So that's everything in here now. Like I said, usually over the next week or two, a few more things trickle in that are exciting to talk about. But to be honest, between cost of goods sold and address autocomplete and MCP and PayPal, I think there's a lot in this release, and I recommend checking it out. And you can find this post on the developer blog. You can find the whole timeline for when the release will come out, and you can click to view the full change log, which if you do click and see, like I said, there's generally, here we go, a ton of other PRs that we just haven't fully had the time to dig in. But I mean, look at this huge set of performance improvements and, developer fixes, REST API changes, all sorts of things like that. Nothing breaking, of course, but just a ton of new functionality. So hopefully this was useful. I've never done the whole read a blog post on a video format before, so I thought I'd try it out. Let me know if this was helpful to you, and look forward to updating to WooCommerce 10.3.